we are back again. Today I have someone who I'm really excited to have on. She's doing some really, I think, innovative stuff, especially for this area with couples and intensives. So, Brooke, why don't you introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about the work that you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It is a joy to be here with you today. I'm Brook Smith. I am a counselor in Rogers, serving Northwest Arkansas, and I mostly do couples therapy and trauma therapy. And what I've been doing lately, starting this year, I came home from maternity leave and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do things the way that I think are best practice, at least for what I'm doing. And so I took all my couples and I said, hey, we're going to start doing intensives. If this is something you're interested, here's all the good reasons why I want to do it this way. And let's see where we go from here. And every single one of them said yes, except for maybe one who just like schedule wise couldn't do it, right? If I'm honest. But every single one of them said, yes, we would love that. That's exactly what we need. And that's what I've been doing since 2022.
Wow. So, what are some of those good reasons?
Man, so imagine being in a really distressed situation in your marriage and you pop in at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning to your counselor's office. You say hi to your spouse as y'all walk in the door, and your counselor calls you back, and you're like, okay, let's dive deep and get down. 20 minutes in, you're in a really good part of your conversation, having some good work done. You maybe get to sit in that for 15 minutes, and then you're having to come back up out of it and be like, okay, see you later. Y'all try to hug yourselves, each other on the way out, and see each other that evening at home, right? Like it just feels rushed and it is challenging to let yourself relax in the middle of being sandwiched in between all that energy going on coming into your counselor's office. So, having 3 hour session with your therapist and your partner coming in gives you the chance to your body knows, hey, I have space to relax and do this, and I have time to sit in this and time to come back up and be ready to go back out to work or whatever you need to do. So that's one of the big reasons. Also, when you look at the neurobiology of our systems and how they do, we need time for healing conversations to sit in our bodies and marinate for a while, and for that to get reinforced and rooted in our system. Otherwise, you spend a lot more time overall in therapy trying to do the same thing that you might be able to do in fewer hours, but extended sessions. So that might look like me having a couple come in and we go every other week for 3 hour sessions. And depending on where they are as a couple, right, and what their situation is, maybe they're just in my office for 6 months as opposed to 18 months, 2 years, coming in for a 50-minute session every week.
Yeah, it's sort of this weird paradox you're saying, all right, of actually, if we go longer in those sessions, the overall time is shorter, right?
The overall time is shorter.
Yeah. And I think there's also sort of this implicit safety of I'm not going to be rushed. I think sometimes, especially when you come in and you're coming in from like work or something else, you come in and you're sort of like having to sort of settle into the session.
Exactly.
And there's that sense of now that I've settled here, I've got to get ready to go back out. So you can't just like
Yes.
relax into it. Yeah.
Yeah, your body knows it's like I don't have very long to be here, so I don't know how deep I can dive, right? And
hmm
so it makes it a lot difficult, a lot more difficult to get into those conversations that you need to be having.
Wow. So you sort of given us a hint, but what's a typical sort of pattern, right? Is it 3 hours every other week for, X number of months, or do you do
Mhm.
intensives as in 6 hour intensives, or like what's their sort of average client sort of Not like length of time, but just like cadence.
Cadence. So I find myself with most of my clients right now are every other week to every 3 weeks. And that's because I've had a lot of my couples for a couple of months now, at least. Whenever we first start out, I might have a couple, and again, depending where they are as a couple, if it's more intense work, like we're trying to do a fair recovery, we're going to come in probably every week if that's an option for them, if they're able to do that, right? They're going to come in every week for 2 or 3 weeks because we have to basically we're in the ICU at that point, right? And we're just trying to stabilize and stop the wound, stop the bleeding, right? And then once we're kind of out of ICU and we're in a bit of a recovery room, but we're still in the hospital, right? It's more like every other week, every 2 weeks, right? And then we're going to titrate down some. Maybe then it's just once a month. So it depends on the stability of the couple and the need that they have. And part of the reason that doing intensives this way is so helpful is because whenever clients call for a counselor and they're like, we need help, it's like we need help now because
Tomorrow,
we don't
right?
know. Yeah, like we needed help yesterday,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But really, they should have come in a long time before that. So it helps to have that more intensive work coming in because they're like, I need the pain to stop now. Right. And so we're going to do all that we can to stabilize so that then we can begin the more healing work, the deeper work.
Yeah. I think that also just sounds more, I don't know, I'm putting myself in the shoes of a client, and it's like every week for 3 hours, I think can feel overwhelming. But if it's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's every other week, I don't know, something about that cadence feels like it's not nearly as overwhelming, but then you still get the
Mhm.
safety of like the longer sort of sessions.
Yeah.
What's some of the biggest misconceptions people have about couples work and couples intensives, right? When clients come in, if there's one thing you could magically have them know before they sort of sit down.
Mm.
Um, what's the misconception that they often have?
Time does not heal all wounds. Maybe that's a big one. And it's what you do with the time, right? Given. And so we want to use our time to the best of our capability. Um, and then also, the other big misconception is that I'm not going to hand you a book on how to do marriage right. I don't have a list of rules for you because every couple coming in comes from their own background, their own culture, their own stories, and they have very good reasons why they do things the way they do. So the work the the work of a couples counselor is to make sense of the world that they live in and the good reasons why they have been living the way they've been doing it, right? And then what are those things that create conflict and sever the bonds and the ties that they have in their relationship. And so once you get a good understanding of that as a couple, right? And not just the like, oh, we're not doing good because she badgers me, right? Like, no, we're looking at like, what is the energy saying in the room about why that's happening? And why is this the way that we've had to deal with it, right? And once we get really good understandings of that, called attachment work, we get good understanding of the attachment work happening between the couple. Now that couple might have a different option to make. Oh, hey, now I'm more aware of the pain being triggered inside of me. And if my partner can understand what I'm going through over here and I can communicate to that to them clearly, we might have a different option to get out of our negative cycle, right? Many people may have heard that statistic that for every negative comment or experience, you have to have 5 positive ones just to neutralize that one negative. Well, if we can do some of the more deeper heart work that's going on there. And people have different names for it. It can come out of, you can use polyvagal theory language for it, dorsal vagal. You can talk about hypnosis and what's happening there. But what we're doing is we are going to the body's experience where it feels the pain, and we're helping them. I go back to that hospital analogy, and we're helping them locate exactly where the pain is. So then we know exactly the kind of medication that it is, the salve that it needs to soothe the pain. And that is a process of undoing all the ways that we block and protect ourselves for good reason. We've had good reason to be protective of ourselves. But if we can have enough safety and build enough safety in the room and in our relationship, then maybe we don't have to be protective of ourselves, and we can reach that vulnerable place with our partner, who then brings a whole new safety and healing experience that maybe we've never had before. That's the kind of bonding connection I want my couples to have, that they know I can come to you in the place that I hurt the most and know that you will take care of me here, rather than hurt me when I'm vulnerable.
I think that's such a big, I think that's such a bold dream, right? That's the hope that I have for clients, that they can share what's where they've been hurt the most with their partner and know that you're not going to hurt me. In fact, you're the one person who's going to actually see me here. That's really, really beautiful. It's
The
really
one
beautiful.
person that's actually going to see me. Yes. Oof, I even feel that in my body as you say that. Like, that feels like comfort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So, where can people find you, right? If someone wants to connect with you, they want to do an intensive with you, how do they do that?
So right now I'm located at the Fresh Roots office in Rogers, and they can find me on our website, freshrootsfamilycounseling.com. And I also recently just bought a little house in downtown Rogers, and we are in the process of remodeling it and building another space. And I'm going to use that for my couples intensives and for intensive work for trauma therapy. And so, if anybody wants to get in contact with me, they can find me on the Fresh Roots website, and we can talk about where they want to meet and what they want to do that for. Next year is when I hope to have those houses ready, those homes ready, and I want couples to be able to come and feel like they truly get to rest when they come to this place. And I want it to feel like an oasis, a sanctuary, a calm in the storm that they get to retreat to, and yeah, and do some good work there.
So, Brooke, you also have a freebie. Tell us about the freebie.
Yeah, so I would like to offer anybody who is listening to this podcast, if you contact me and you say that you and your partner want to do a weekend intensive at our new little cottage home, we would like to offer a 1 night free stay for your weekend intensive.
Wow, that's huge, right? That cuts the like staying cost, the travel cost, I think, by a lot for lots of people. That's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, look, Brooke, thank you so much for your time. I know people are really going to be excited about the work that you do, and also having the time to just actually do the work in a way that feels safe. So thank you for all the work. If I can be of service to you, please let me know, okay?
Thank you, Jordan. It was a pleasure.